Welcome to the coolest stuff on the planet.
Hi, I'm Matt. Welcome to the podcast.
And I'm Rachel, also part of the podcast.
She is the pilot, I am the co. And today we're going to check out Yellowstone National Park, which is the granddaddy of all the national parks. It's located mostly in Wyoming, but Idaho and Montana get a little piece too.
Yeah, it's the first national park in the world, actually.
It is.
On March 1st, 1872, Congress and the President Ulysses S. Grant declared it a national park.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, it was a trendsetter, and other parks followed.
Yes. One of the coolest things about Yellowstone, and what it's famous for, is its extensive wildlife. So you'll see grizzly bears, black bears, elk, gray wolves like this little guy, and even a buffalo. Many people go in the nicer months, say summer, spring. More people are going during the winter because you get to see a lot more of the animal population during that time.
Yeah, and it's also a cool time, pun intended, to see the geothermal features of the park.
Yes. You know why? Because Yellowstone is most famous for its geothermal features. It smells a little bit like sulfur, just so you guys know. Not too much, but just maybe a little bit. It is a geothermal wonderland that hosts half of the world's hydrothermal features, like geysers, hot springs, mud pits, and even steam vents, which sounds scary.
Man, I love those mud pits.
Oh, yeah.
But according to the park's website, I thought this was a really cool fact. There are over 10,000 hydrothermal features in the park, and over 300 of those are geysers. And of course, when we're talking about geysers in Yellowstone, we have to mention Old Faithful.
Yes.
Which actually is not as faithful as you might think.
Hey, come on, don't diss.
I'm not casting aspersions on Old Faithful. I'm just saying it doesn't actually erupt every hour on the hour.
Really?
It's more like somewhere around 80 minutes.
Ooh.
And sometimes it can vary from 45 minutes to 2 hours between an eruption. So relatively faithful.
But it faithfully erupts, right? So
Yes.
It happens all the time.
It's consistent.
It hasn't stopped
It's
erupting.
not faithful.
So I would say, Faithful, you're doing a fine job. Don't listen to her. She does it. It's okay. It's okay, Old Faithful. So there are also fumaroles, like in Katmai that we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
And there are mud pots, which are bubbling, burping, just roiling pits of mud.
And some of the hot springs at Yellowstone are actually really weird looking and cool. There's one called the Grand Prismatic Spring, which I actually think is the largest hot spring in the United States.
Wow.
But it is the weirdest looking thing. Like if you see this, look at this picture right here. Yeah. It's all these bright rainbow colors. You have oranges, you have these turquoise, and it's actually from different kinds of algae.
So that thing is amazing. But you know what the coolest thing is about Yellowstone? The thing that keeps me up at night?
What's that?
Yellowstone is actually a caldera, which is a giant supervolcano. Okay, now if that doesn't scare you, check this out. It's gonna kill you. Actually, it's probably not gonna kill you. It's gonna kill your grandchildren or your children.
Nothing but the facts scare people. So tell us what the facts are about this, this killer
I'm sorry.
supervolcano.
Those were nightmares. So the facts are that this thing is so active, Yellowstone in general, is so geologically active. One of the reasons it has so much geothermal stuff is because the Earth's crust is actually very thin there. It's only about 2 miles thick as opposed to 20 miles in most places. So you only have 2 miles between you and a horrible, horrible hot death. So there's a hot core of melted rock that's already caused 3 massive eruptions in the history of the Earth.
Mm-hmm. And the last one occurred about somewhere around 630 to 640,000 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to get an idea of how big we're talking when we talk about supervolcanoes, this one ejected about 8,000 times more ash and lava than Mount St. Helens did in 1980. And another comparison, if you think about it, this is a good analogy. A supervolcano can erupt with about 1 million times the force of Hiroshima that Hiroshima did in Japan.
Oh, that's nothing, right? Oh my God.
So it's not an itty-bitty volcano. It's pretty big.
But don't be afraid, everyone. It's okay. Because Yellowstone is actually due. Well, okay, scientists don't know for sure, but there's been a lot of earthquake activity recently in Yellowstone that's made a lot of people nervous. And there was an 11-day period in December of 2008, December 26th actually to January 6th of 2009, when hundreds of small earthquakes actually were occurring underneath Yellowstone. And they called that activity a swarm.
Because they call it a swarm because it's basically a bunch that are around the same size.
Mm-hmm.
And earthquakes are pretty common in Yellowstone, actually. Yeah. But this swarm was bigger than usual.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not unprecedented in the history of Yellowstone. And one reassuring factoid for me when pondering my fiery death at the hands of a supervolcano is that the U.S. Geological Survey actually does monitor volcanic activity in places like Yellowstone. And, more reassuringly, I suppose, they have a volcanic activity alert notification system in place.
Yes.
And currently, as of this month, September 2009, it's at normal.
Yes, which makes me feel wonderful. Oh, wow. I'm actually going to get some sleep tonight. That's really nice.
That's it for Yellowstone. That's all we've got. If you'd like to learn more about Yellowstone National Park, gray wolves, volcanoes, etc., you can go to our website at howstuffworks.com. We've got some nice stuff for you.
Spend an hour on our website and you'll win a free cookie. Actually, you won't.
For more on this and thousands of other topics, visit howstuffworks.com and let us know what you think. Email travelpodcast@howstuffworks.com. Don't forget to check out our other podcasts, free on iTunes.